welcome back. Welcome to Fun Size Friday. Welcome to our first live I Am Fun Size. Very, very exciting. And I'm very, very excited that we're doing our first live I Am Fun Size with the incomparable Jeannie Bolet. I just said Bolet, and I'm so embarrassed that I said Bolet.
No,
I know it's not your name, but it's not your name. Your name is Jeannie Bolet with an accent on it. And that must be known to the world. I think it's because I was watching that sketch. I literally think it was because I was recently watching that SNL sketch, Robert Goulet, and I had that in my head, which is embarrassing. And also I sound a little bit like I'm on some kind of speed drug right now, which I am not. I have just been running all day. So apologies for that. Let's check out who is here before we get started. Hello, gang. Hello, Talon Poppy. Thank you, Talon. You've been so sweet about gifting subs to everybody. Super, super sweet of you. Thank you guys for all the gifts. And yes, we have emotes. Woohoo! We just need a few more subscribers to unlock the last one, which I'm very excited because I feel good about just telling you guys up front that it is a disappointed auntie emote, and that I feel like is going to be, it's a judgmental auntie emote. It's judgmental, not disappointed. So I think that's going to be very useful because we all need a little judgmental auntie. Don't we all need a little judgmental auntie in our lives? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's frankly what Symmetra is she's an amalgamation of all of my judgmental aunties. You guys are awesome. Break every mold. I cannot imagine me on a hyperactive supplement either. Coffee is bad enough. So yes, that would be an interesting experience that I don't think any of us need to find out about. I certainly don't. Thank you guys to all the people who have followed. Thank you guys to all of you who are joining us for the first time. So before we begin today, I just want to tell you all what I Am Fun Size is about. A few years ago, it was soon after, about 6 months, maybe a little bit longer after Overwatch had come out. And I had wanted to do some kind of a blog or a vlog or whatever the kids are calling it these days. I'd wanted to do something that was giving of a service of some kind, helping people. And I kept keeping myself from doing it by being like, it's not perfect. I don't know what it should be, blah, 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 blah. I knew that I wanted it to be called I Am Fun Size, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. And then one night I asked to do a fan art Friday on Twitter. I was like, let's do a fan art Friday. And I was inundated with so much incredible creativity, cosplay, fan art, fan fiction, all of it. You guys were so wildly generous with your creativity that I immediately thought, who the hell am I to not be putting this out, regardless of what I think of it, if it's going to be helpful to someone else. And that night, I Am Fun Size was born. I popped on the computer, filmed a little like, hey guys, we're going to do this. Send me your questions at Anjali at IamFunSize.com. Let's do it. And so they are a series of videos on YouTube, me solo, and then me also with guests like Jeannie, talking about different ways that we've handled our challenges or pieces of advice we've gotten over the years. None of us are professional therapists. None of us are professional psychologists or anything. Please, 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 please get professional help if you need professional help for things in your life. But this is just a little more, just something to provide other people with tools and understandings that we might have come across during our experiences in our lives that might be useful to you. And if they're not useful to you, toss them out. No one needs it. You just use what works for you and forget the rest. So this is why I'm super excited that we're doing it live now, because you guys can interact and we can interact with you, and we can have a nice long chat with this beautiful lady, Jeannie, who, in addition to being an exceptionally talented voice actress and writer and creator of jewelry and game designer and so many things, in addition to being all of those things, is just a very deep and soulful person that I have grown to love very much, even though we've never been able to be in the same room together because we met during COVID. So Jeannie, welcome to this crazy pantsness.
Hello. pants-ness, and I love you. We've had quite a wonderful online relationship I guess since Echo dropped.
Yep.
And yeah, I really enjoy our deep dives and thoughtful conversations about anything and everything, and lots of those things are very dear to both of us. And I can't think of a better person to be able to take those deep dives with and also share it with our community. So thanks.
I love that. I love that. Also, we found out we had a lot of things in common, which we didn't know. So someday we're going to go rock climbing together, which is going to be very, very exciting. So before we begin with like personal stuff and stuff like that, let's do a super quick intro to you career-wise and as the world knows you. All these things that people could find out on Google, but let's just do a quick thing in case there are people who don't know you. So first of all, we met with you coming into Overwatch as the beautiful Echo, which you did amazing work with, and people in the chat are all saying the same thing. Jeannie is such a queen, and amazing work on Echo. Talon Poppy, thank you so much for gifting all those things. You're so sweet. You know, every single person that I've spoken to online or in person or like I should say live, not in person, because we're not really seeing anybody in person, but everyone I've spoken to since you originated that role has talked about how incredible you were on it. And I would like to hear a little bit about your experience coming to Overwatch and coming to your experience in acting or your career. How let's go from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you.
Has everybody got about 5 hours?
I mean, you ask them, they'll say yes. So because we all know that this is going to be, you know, we're also going to record all of this and pop it on VOD. So, you know.
Awesome. I'll try to stay on track, but just be aware. I like.
There is no such thing as on track on this. Go anywhere you want. This is going to be. It's a deep dive. It's fun.
Yeah.
We're going to get to know you, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things on here. So just go for it. Go for it.
All right. So where to begin?
One person said, do I have 5 hours? I have 5 years for this.
Me too. Thanks,
we have
as much time as we need, even if we go offline. I'm sure I'll still be talking about it. So I guess with acting, I fell into it. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do when I was younger, and I knew that I wanted to do them, and along the way kind of lost my confidence and acquired something called low self-esteem. And so secretly I was always writing, I was always impersonating, I was always doing voices, but I didn't have the confidence or the belief in myself to follow that nugget of inspiration. And it wasn't just inspiration, it was evident that, oh, you like doing these things, you're good at these things, you make your inner circle laugh. Terrified of making my outer circle laugh, right, in case you fall flat. So I continued writing. I was also big into art, so art came easily in the sense that I don't know if it was my main passion, but it was a passion. I wasn't necessarily sharing my innermost feelings, which is what I do in my writing. And so it became an easier second passion. So I ended up going to art school. And I studied fashion. I managed to kind of amalgamate my writing in there, because I thought, well, maybe I could be a fashion journalist. Maybe I could write scathing reviews about fashion that I think is terrible. Fashion that I think is, well, that was an amazing feat of architectural fashion design. You know what I mean? I felt like I could combine it, but I got derailed. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this in the chat, but I dropped out. And I carried a lot of shame and a lot of guilt for dropping out of high school because I got derailed. And I will share with you why in a moment. And in college, I got derailed because I could. Let's just say I got really overwhelmed, and I carried that shame for a very, very long time. But because I still carried those creative instincts, because I was always still doing, had a lot of ideas, a lot of things just kind of materialized in front of me. And so I had options, which I felt very fortunate, but I can't really describe it as being, you know, I wanted to do that. And so I decided to go and do it. You know, things just presented themselves. So I thought, well, I'll go with the flow. I'll see what happens here. So I fell into doing makeup. I fell into being a makeup artist. I worked on set. I traveled the world doing makeup for fashion shoots, commercials, magazines. I was really, really lucky in falling into something that allowed me to still be creative, still create art on people's faces, and also just to gather human experience and to share human experience. Because when someone sits in the chair in front of you, you kind of like what we're doing right now, you know, break bread, you share your life, part of it. And
especially it's so lovely on shoots as the performer when the first person you meet is your makeup artist and your hair artist.
Yeah.
So you want to like connect, and you are like the bastion of, please, let's have some connection with you.
Yes, absolutely. And because it's such an intimate setting before talent goes, whether it's in front of camera to act, or whether it's in front of camera to model and to pose, and and it's early in the morning. For the most part, it's very early in the morning, so you get the purest version. Yeah, it's like you get the purest version of each other. So the person who sits in your chair, and also yourself. You know, I always say that me at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get the purest, most unadulterated version of me.
Mm.
I not like it because she's extremely deep and she's extremely connected to, you know, my humanness and wanting to connect on a very human level, without the trappings of materialism, or without the trappings of noise and chatter and all the great things that are around us. But when you are most at your quiet, so that you can really hear what you need and what you feel, that's kind of like my happy place. And then I can be available for whoever, comes into my life.
That is such an important thing. And I just want to pause there because I literally just did an I Am Fun Size about this very topic, about how easy it is, especially now, to lose sense of who we are, because we are so used to depending on things outside of us to give us our identity. And that for me, it's so important. And it's what you're talking about, is finding that place of stillness and solitude. It doesn't necessarily mean being alone. Solitude is actually being with your own soul and with your own thoughts.
Right.
Having that. So giving yourself that quiet in your own mind. And I'm with you. I feel like first thing in the morning, before the inundation of notifications and people needing you and the pets and that part is such a sacred, special thing to be able to find a way to connect to.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like so distracted, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, completely to distracted by the lights. I apologize for that. I really did have a squirrel moment. It is the biggest gift that I feel we miss out on in not being afraid to hang out with yourself. Yes. And we are in the midst of a forced hangout with ourselves.
Right.
Thankfully, we've got technology to bring us together if that's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
We do.
And also to distract us, to make us think, to keep us from spending time with ourselves. It's another I Am Fun Size I did was about loneliness and how easy it is to feel lonely even when you're around a lot of people, or to feel lonely when you're like dealing with a bunch of people online, because you have to learn to enjoy your own company. And I feel the time when I feel loneliest, which thankfully is very rare nowadays, is if I am not enjoying my own company, if I am not letting myself see what the people who love me see. and like actually enjoying hanging out with myself. And I think, as you were speaking to earlier, I think when you have low self-esteem, or you for whatever reasons, if you're carrying shame and all of those things, it's very easy to feel lonely because you don't want to spend time with yourself.
Oh yeah. You want to run away from your skin. You want to run away from whatever's going on in your brain, or and I think a lot of it does stem from our neurological makeup, as well as what we've acquired through our life, those moments that either made us or broke us, right?
Or just bruised us, because no one's getting you. If you're here, you're not broken.
No one's broken. Yes.
If you made it, you're just a little bent, as Rob Thomas would say.
Exactly. It just grazed you, right?
Just went, oh, that hurts. Let me fix that.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. Put some. I was going to say put some lotion on it, but that went a bit Buffalo Bill. Put lotion on it just yet. So
you were talking about being in the chair, about being a makeup artist.
Being a makeup artist and people sitting in your chair and connecting with each other. So that was the journey that I went on. The flow, I went with the proverbial flow to see what this was all about. I still got to do art. I still got to experience human stories, and that's what I love. That's what I write about. I write about a lot of my own lived in experiences. So that was a lot of fun. And then I ended up I have a friend who is a producer back in England, and he's a well-known producer who was looking for an East Asian actress to, first of all, play quite a young age, to play 18. I was 26 or 27 at the time. And he was shooting a pilot, and they wanted me to audition for one of the roles. And I was like, I haven't done a play since I was about 16 years old. I think there are other people out there who are better qualified, and this is one of my things that, I feel like it's important I thought it was important, and I'm not discrediting it either. I think we have many different paths to get to our place of wherever we are meant to fulfill our highest purpose. So I auditioned for it, not thinking that I was going to get it. Got the role, shot the pilot, did a lot of research for the character, and got bitten by this bug of telling a story. Exactly.
Oh, this little bug.
Oh, the bug. Yes.
The bug.
Yes. And from someone who gets bitten by mosquitoes quite a lot, that you get bitten by a mosquito, and then
maybe it's an Asian thing. Maybe it's our blood. There's something about our blood type. I swear to God, I'm like I'm a mosquito magnet.
Yes. My friends, if they don't want to get bit, it's kind of like invite Jeannie over, because they'll just put their ankles.
Nice. Go run block.
Yeah, exactly. So I liken that kind of being bit, whatever your calling is, when you get bitten by it, it's like this incessant itch, and you're like,
gotta do it.
Yeah, how can something that I barely spent any time in, I mean, we shot for 1 week, and I did research for about 2 weeks leading up to it. But it was, I wanted to know more about it. I was like, I want to tell these stories. However, I don't have the education, I don't have the technique down. And so from there, I started going to acting classes, as well as still being a makeup artist, to educate myself on it, to really, honor those who have come before me and who have spent time in acting school, in conservatories, so that's what I started to do, which is what eventually led me to coming to the States to study. And that was it, also moving over here with doing more acting, learning more about the different techniques. It reignited my love of writing and telling human stories. And so I guess moving here really just I wouldn't say it solidified it, but it reminded me of what I wanted to do before the world got really foggy and clouded and complicated. You know, around that time when you're taking your, I think, guess it's SATs here, or in England it would be your GCSEs or your A level.
What is it in England?
It's your GCSEs.
Just okay.
It's a general certificate of education kind of thing, and then your A levels would be your advanced level qualification that gets you into whichever college or university you're applying to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're like trying to make these really quick decisions on what am I going to do? What should I study? You know, in the States, you kind of, I guess in the US, you get to choose a little bit more slowly, you know?
Because you can do undergrad and not declare a major.
Totally.
You can just chill. You can just chill for a little bit. Not everybody does, but the freedom to do that. And honestly, everything that you're talking about right now, I'm so glad that people are hearing it, because I do think there are a lot of young people who tune in here. And I think it's important to hear that incredibly successful people in their lives have often not known what they wanted to do, and continue to explore and continue to go with the flow and continue to look into other things. And if you end up starting to do something and it ends up not feeding you, you can absolutely change your mind. Ain't nobody telling you have to do one thing.
Exactly. There's that saying, you know, well, you made your bed, you better sleep in it. And I remember that used to be something that really, you know, that I really took on board, almost quite literally. And a friend of mine, my friend Sarju Patel, who was one of my dearest friends, one of the first friends that I ever met when I moved to LA, I remember him saying, well, you can tell them that you will make your bed again and you will start all over again. And you can keep making it until it feels like it's right for you.
Yeah, I'll buy a whole new bed, people. I don't care.
Bed. Yeah, exactly. That mattress doesn't work for you. You better go trade it out, or whatever it is, you know, whatever analogy or metaphor.
Right. Yeah. Also, and I know Talon Poppy left, unfortunately, but I wanted to say, because this was a great comment that they made earlier. I think there's courage in trying. Not being able to complete something isn't terrible. In fact, knowing when you're beat, when you can't go on and need a break, that's pretty courageous, in my opinion, even when at that time there may be a lot of shame at the time. Finding yourself is more important than climbing a mountain for a half-seen view.
Yes.
I'm taking a screenshot of that. Because that finding yourself is more important than climbing a mountain for a half-seen view. That's gorgeous. I don't know if that is Talon Poppy and a Talon Poppy original, but anyone who knows Talon Poppy, please let them know that I'm stealing that one, because it's gorgeous, and giving them lots and lots of credit for that. Also, thank you, Arkwin 101. I'm sorry to keep interrupting with these things. I just want to make sure everybody knows that that we are seeing them, but I want so much to engage here with you, because we have such great deep things to keep talking about.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, I'm seeing all the messages in the chat as well. So thank you so much to all of you. I would be like this, like while we're chatting, because
we'll go back, and also we'll go back. We will give the people what they want, and at the end we'll do some voice lines for them, so everybody knows that that all that kind of stuff. I promise we're coming to it, guys. But we want to get to the really good sauce and the juice and the good stuff right now. All of the delicious things that I am fun size for. So you were bitten by the bug, and you were reminded of your dreams, if you were, when you came out here. You were kind of reminded of who you were. Where did that then lead you next?
Well, as you know, the industry can be quite difficult. So there are many years.
What? It's so easy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Difficult? Exactly. It's all wonderful. It's all perfect, but not really. As most of us, we spend many years in the wilderness, and I'm going to call, you know, just having our side gigs, which also are kind of like our full-time gigs, if we're not working.
Right.
So I was still gigging as a makeup artist. I was doing commercials. I was doing some indie films, you know.
Although commercials, still acting, still part of this career. Just want to give people freedom for that.
100%. I have my commercial career to thank for many years of health insurance. Let's just talk about that for a second, you know, because otherwise.
That is a huge accomplishment in the United States. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah. Definitely in and out of coverage, but I owe a lot of love to my agency. So yeah, I continued to go out and audition. I continued to hone my craft. I continued to make really wonderful friendships with people who had like-minded souls, like-minded dreams.
Did you move out to Los Angeles? Was this the first place you landed after you came from the UK, or were you somewhere else first?
Yeah, because I had worked here before as a makeup artist. I came here for a month doing sort of like commercial print shoots that didn't necessarily have any particular I guess main client, but it was just like doing lots of different shoots, and I was the makeup artist. And the funny thing is, I wasn't paid to do the job, but I was brought over by a friend who was an art director. This is the first time I came here, and he actually worked for Getty Images, and he was like, "Oh, you're doing makeup now? That's great. We're going to need a makeup artist because we're going to LA. How about this? You come and cut your teeth with us, and we'll pay for your flight, your accommodation, all of your meals. You get to go to LA and you do hair and makeup." And I remember thinking, "Oh, but they're not going to pay me. Oh, well, what happens there?" And we didn't really have that time where it's like, you should ask for your worth and you should ask for blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I thought, but this does give me an opportunity, and it is paid for.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say yes, even though I'm terrified. And it was one of the best things that I could have ever done.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and by the end of the shoot, this is a really nice cherry on the cake in this sort of short period of my life. Good people do exist. When you are working for free, you kind of feel like, I'm just being taken advantage of here.
You can feel like that. Not always, but you can. Yeah.
You can. They paid me at the end of the shoot.
Oh,
amazing. There is money left in the budget. Here is essentially what we would pay someone at the beginning of their makeup career.
Amazing.
And I remember they gave it to me in cash as well. I remember going,
yeah, that's the way you want it.
How am I gonna? Well, yeah, that too. But I was also like, I'm carrying a ridiculous amount of money. I'm terrified someone's going to try and mug me.
That's always the case. Oh my God, that's always the case. I'm like,
exactly. It's just like, where do I put this and hide it?
Yeah, exactly.
See, that was my first experience in LA. It was wonderful. And so coming back to LA, I was lucky that I had one or two people that were still here that I still knew from that first time that I came here. So I wasn't completely alone. But as my side hustle, talking about side hustles, I continued to do makeup. I actually did makeup for headshots instead. Instead of, I did some print jobs where I was on location, but I never went onto a film set because I felt like this is managing expectations 101. I didn't want to feel the envy or the shame of being in front of the camera and working behind the camera. There is no shame, first of all. That's what I would tell myself 15 years ago. There is no shame. There is just doing one of the things that you love and being able to pay your rent. And right. So my wilderness years, where it led to, I was just still doing makeup, doing commercials, doing indie films, going to class, and it feels like a lifetime goes by. It really does. You're here, and then all of a sudden, because the weather doesn't change too much in LA, for all of you who, if you've never been to LA, it's 75 to 90 degree temperature, and every day
it's pretty mellow.
It's pretty mellow. We don't get the seasonal changes to remind us of, that's why I love autumn. I love autumn because school. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, back to school. Better go buy some pencils and pens.
Right. Hang on a second. I'm making notes. That's literally why I don't want to sound rude, but I'm just like, I have to make notes because there's so much I want to talk about.
I'm going to look into the chat while you're doing that.
Yes, do it. Do it. Hello, Rebel Darius. It's good to see you. Or Darius. I still haven't figured out. I think I'm going to say it's Darius. Darius. And I see all y'all who are popping those voice lines, who are wanting those voice lines. I'm just going to throw in a couple of Rampart ones right now because I see them. So for Beam Toaster, we've got time to turn crap into gold. And I believe there was one other special request from Sky the Abnormal. If you don't like what you see, put a bag over your head.
Love it.
God, she's such a silly, I was going to use a different word. She's a no filter gal, that Rampart. She's a no filter gal. So you were continuing to do your side gigs, which it's so funny because I say this a lot. I really wish, especially in college and other places where they teach actors and send them out into the world, I wish people would encourage said diversification a little bit more, because I think that there were, at least back when I was in school, there was a certain shame to paying your bills however you could. Right. And it was either like, okay, you're going to be a waiter so you can focus all your creative energy on your acting, but right. That's it. You know, like don't do all the different kinds, don't diversify. And I am so mad that, you know, there were points in my life that I remember being so low and telling myself, I don't know how to make money. I don't know how to make, all I can do is act. I don't know how to do anything else, which was bullshit. Of course I knew how to do something else. We all know how to do something else. Everybody has skills. But somehow I had internalized this sense of like, if I'm not acting, then I'm not anything.
Right.
And it did such a disservice, not that I'm blaming anyone else, but that mindset on me did such a disservice to me as a human being, because it lowered my worth, because I didn't think I was capable as a human outside of being an actor. Right. And what your journey is proof of is that not only can you get creative fulfillment and learn things while you are finding all of these other what the hell? My mail program keeps opening. Not only can you learn things and find out about all these new skills, but you can pay your bills so that your acting is not so fraught with, oh my God, I have to book this job. Oh my God, I have to, going into an audition and saying, I have to book this job to pay my bills. It's the worst feeling. Yeah. It is just the worst feeling. No one does good work under that.
That desperation that I need, and holding on to it so tightly that, I know we're saying that nobody gets broken, but it is that feeling of something can snap inside of you because you don't feel 100% whole. You feel like something is missing, and therefore that something must be, something wrong with you.
I want to clarify, people get broken all the time. I just like to think that if we are here, if we have made it this far, you are not broken. If you have gotten up this morning and you have, all it takes is surviving to know you are not broken. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can be, but you are here. And that alone in this world, I think is an accomplishment. There's a lot going on, not just because of 2020, but there's a lot going on in life. Yeah. And sometimes we just need to give ourselves credit for waking up in the morning.
Yeah, just showing up for yourself. I know that sounds kind of, cliche or just one of those motivational speak kind of quotes, but it's true. To be able to show up for yourself, not for anybody else, but, to be able to, if you decide to brush your teeth, if you decide to face or shower, if you don't, that's okay. But just to acknowledge that I'm here.
Yeah. Also, for those of you who don't know this book, I highly recommend it. It's called The Four Agreements. I'm sure Jeannie knows it. Mm-hmm. And it sort of breaks down some Native American wisdom. And it basically talks about 4 agreements that you can have with yourself to improve your life. And one of them is always do your best. And within the explanation of that is the understanding that your best will not always be at the same level. Sometimes your best is waking up and brushing your teeth. And you need to know that that is okay. Sometimes you will be sick. Sometimes you may be going through a grieving process over something that happened in your life. Sometimes, you know, there are plot points are going to change your sense of your resources through your life, and that is life. And we need to give ourselves permission to just, did I do my best in that moment? Yes. Was it as good as it was in this moment? Maybe not, but in that moment, I know I did my best. And that, knowing that alone and having that sense of accomplishment is really important, and particularly in times like we're living through now. Just knowing that that's okay, and that prepares you to stay open to those opportunities like you are talking about. Because if you're busy beating yourself up, you're not going to see all that stuff coming. You're not going to see the I hate using these terms, but you're not going to see the abundance that is trying to come into your life so desperately. If you were squeezing it or living in shame or whatever, you wouldn't have gone on that trip to LA.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And a friend of mine, the lovely Suzanne Lee, she's also an actress. I remember her saying to me, you know, if we're just holding on so tightly, if you just imagine it's like a pencil in your hand and you're holding on so tightly, and what happens? What happens to that pencil? And I'm like, yeah, you break it. And she's like, you break it. You break it, and you need that pencil to tell your story, you know, whether it's, you know, a proverbial story or whether it's you as a writer, a
personal story. Yeah.
And I often think about that. I'm often reminded by these wonderful wisdoms from our friends that we share with each other and resonate with us. So, yeah, absolutely. To you know, I can definitely look back in my life and see where messages and opportunities have been presented to me, and I have been looking down at my feet or feeling shame or sadness or, you know, and when
not just opportunities, but beautiful moments.
moment.
I look back on how many moments with my family that I didn't really like relish at the time because I was depressed about a relationship or I was depressed about my career or whatever. And I look back on those and I it's such a lesson to realize that, okay, maybe this thing that you want is not present in your life, but there are these other things. Keep looking for this thing. Don't stop the drive, but also be aware that you have this.
Yeah.
And it is definitely, it's hard. It's something that you learn. I do think it's something you learn from experience. You know, I think it's hard to necessarily do that, especially when you're starting out in the world and you're young and you're expecting so much of yourself, and the world is expecting a lot of you. I just want to touch on this because you didn't reveal, and it's totally okay if you don't want to, but you mentioned back in the UK that something had taken you off track. Did you want to talk about that, or you want to keep that?
I'm happy to talk about it.
Hang on one second. I just have to say something. I see that there is someone in the chat who is consistently saying, talk about Overwatch, do the voice lines, talk about Overwatch. I'm sorry, but that's not what this stream is going to be about. So if you want to come back for another stream, please feel free to. But there are people here to be able to hear about the things that we are talking about today. And I want to honor that. And I want to honor our guest. We will be doing voice lines at the end, but right now we're talking about something else. So hold your horses, or come back later and check out the VOD. All of that will get done. But for now, I'm honoring what we're here to do. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Go for it. So let's talk about.
Yeah. So something that, you know, when you're younger and you are, for me, I was in high school. I loved high school. I loved high school. I went to an all girls Catholic school. I loved the education. I loved learning. I loved taking on all of the classes. What was really hard for me in school is, you know, when you get to that age of 14, 15, 16, and you're surrounded by girls' school, you know, people developing their character, whether it's based on how their parents are or how other people are. You know, it's just one of those things where I was quite sensitive to it. I remember thinking, wow, I didn't realize that I didn't realize that these people who I'd been hanging out with were that mean. I didn't realize that trash talk. And I've only since I moved to the States, I was like, trash talking, I know what that is, but I never knew what it, I never knew there was a name for it. I thought it was
a
just
name. It's a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just being mean. It's like, why are they so mean? And it really got to me. It really got to me how other people could speak about other people in that way. And it wasn't even jokey. Here's the thing. If they're going to include a person and where they can have this repertoire, a repartee, where it's just, you're making fun of each other and it's consensual and everybody feels good about it.
Yeah,
sure.
That's one thing. But then if they're doing it behind your back and they're doing it like,
yeah. And I'm still that person who is just like, let's confront the person. If this is what you want to say to them, then why don't you?
Right? Like, say it to my face.
Yeah, I don't really want to deal with, I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear that kind of talk. So I remember feeling, and when you get to that age where you're making decisions in your life as to, what school am I supposed to be going to? What subject shall I choose for my A levels? And I remember thinking, I am so emotional about this at the moment. I'm so sideswiped by how these other young women in my life were expressing themselves about other people. And I didn't have a great relationship with my mom at the time. So I just felt like there was this cacophony, this noise, this chatter of negative talk, just constantly around me. And it really made me think about my place, just my place in the world, my place with this group of people.
Now, had you because I think it's tempting in those not tempting, but it would be normal in those circumstances to start internalizing that negative talk. Or were you still enough yourself that you did not take it in? You were just blown away by how bad it was out on the outside.
I think at that point, because I didn't have a way to process it, and I was already dealing with not the greatest relationship at the time with my mother. She was going through a lot of stuff too. I didn't really have anybody to turn to about it, so I internalized it. And it definitely wasn't very healthy, And I think what it did was it further compounded, and I'm a very thinky person, I really do kind of go deep and think about, what does that mean? Why is this happening?
This is why we get along so well, because we're like,
it's almost like a superpower that you can't handle, right?
Yep. Yes.
And you've got all of this, all of these thoughts and feelings, and you're just like, what do I do with it all? And you just want to
and especially at that age, my God.
Yeah. So I had a pretty hard time just kind of balancing what was going on within my circle of friends, within what was happening at home. And then I did throw myself into my schoolwork, though. I absolutely threw myself into my schoolwork, but I was already slightly knocked off balance.
Yeah.
There was something that was just tapping away at me that was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is really... And my home teacher, she actually recognized something was going on. And she brought me into the classroom. So my home class was the science lab. And so she took me into the back lab room, where they have all the Bunsen burners and all the stuff that you then take out and use during class. And she was great. She really just asked me, what's going on? How are you? I can see that you're looking a little bit, I don't know if it was overwhelmed, confused, sad. And as soon as she said that, she saw me and the tears just flowed out. I was, oh my God, what is all of this? This is all coming out, and it was the first time that I'd really been able to verbalize and identify what was going on, And you could put it into a nutshell and say, growing up sucks. You know, being a kid in high school, it's difficult. And I wasn't a gamer. I wasn't, you know, I was an art school kind of girl, but I didn't do gaming or anything. So it's still very solitary, as opposed to what I hear a lot of the kids are finding community within the gaming community, which I love. I love hearing about that.
It's so incredible. It's
Really
so
is.
incredible.
It really is. So they basically brought in a school counselor. We didn't have a school counselor in our school. They brought in someone specific, and it just didn't work out for many reasons. It didn't work out. I'll tell you one reason: because I had a difficult relationship with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in a Chinese counselor, and unfortunately it triggered me.
Yeah.
It really triggered me. And to this day, I think I know she was doing her best. And I know that she was really trying to help me. And all I could see was my mum's sitting in the chair. My mum's sitting in the chair. I don't want to talk to you. My mum is sitting in the chair. And they were really trying to do the right thing. They were really, really trying to do to kind of help me in whatever situation I had found myself in, mentally and in processing high school life. And I will share the one thing that really did derail me. I think I've only shared this with probably about 5 people in my life, and only recently.
Only if you're comfortable, because this is going to be out in the world. The internet is forever. Okay.
This is, I think this is extremely important, and this is something that I write about. You know, it's in all of my notes and research for writing a book at some point. But I was really good at English literature, hence I love writing. And I was studying my mock A-level English literature exam, which is basically it's kind of like, how are you doing? Is your work up to scratch? What do you need to do in order to make it better, in order to get the grades to go on to college? You know, because I thought, oh, I'd like to go and study English literature at Cambridge or somewhere like that. So I was sat there doing my mock exam, really quite proud of myself, because I felt like I've revised, I've done everything, I've taken all of this information, and I love it. I love the stories that I was reading about. I think I was reading about Mansfield Park, and Philip Larkin was the poet that we were studying at the time. And so I spent 3 hours on doing this paper, writing, and I sat there, I stopped, I think I probably had about 10 minutes left, and I looked at it, I was like, I'll just read over it again. I just read over it. And I realized that there were 2 questions. 2 questions. Well, I've only done one answer, so what have I done here? Oh! I amalgamated 2 questions and answered it as one, which now I would say, wow, that's brilliant.
Right.
Right? No. The absolute dread and shame and fear.
I can only imagine, because if you're like me, you're like, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. I did it wrong.
I did it wrong. Oh my God. So I'm sat there, and I raised my hand, and the teacher at the front of the class is like, yes, Jeannie. And I was like, so this is what I've done. I've blended 2 questions together. I've answered it as one. There's not enough time to fit, so I'm just going to go. Is it okay? I'm just going to leave the room. And she was like, okay.
Why did she say okay? Why didn't she just take the test?
Well, she wasn't going to mark it. She was the person, I don't know what you call them, like the moderator.
Moderator, right. Oof.
Like this hall of however many girls are in this room. And I walk out so ashamed, which I wish I had been my big sister. Mm-hmm. I wish I had been my big sister, and because I didn't have anybody to go to. Mm-hmm. Felt like I did not have anybody to go to. And subsequently, I just walked out of school. And
Jeannie, I just want to burst into tears right now because I can feel that. I can feel, because I know that kind of shame when you think you've done, when you, oh, wow, wow.
right. And so and I share it now, because it is important. It's really important to know that I could have easily had gone to a school. I could have gone to my mother. She might not have been able to know what to say, but my mom also has her reasons as well. I did not know how to verbalize it. It was almost like I ended up having selective mutism over it. It was just literally, and
Wow.
then, and then sadness of, what am I going to do then? What am I going to do now? Because this is what I've planned for my life, or at least for the next stage. So,
God, high school can really do that to you too.
Yeah.
Because I was like you, I loved learning. I was like the queen of give me more classes, give me more classes, give me more shit to do.
Yeah. Give me the stuff nobody else wants to do.
Yes.
But
the expectations that either the world creates or we create, for me, it was I created it. The expectations are what then messes with us because they take up so much space in our brain.
They do. Yeah. Oh. And then years later, you're still thinking, oh, man.
What if? Yep. If only,
right? Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, we have you where you are today, so I don't want to regret anything on your behalf, but I understand that sentiment so deeply. If only.
Exactly. I don't feel I'm where I am. This is the thing. I'm where I am. I'm so lucky, regardless. Yes, there are things that I would have liked to have done so differently. Yes, I wish that I did have the voice, and also the support system to be able to say, hey, I think this is important.
You're okay.
Walk away from it. But I think I don't know what to do because I'm a kid,
Yeah. And how are you supposed to know? I mean, our parents, more than anything, are tour guides. They don't have all the answers, but they are tour guides. And yes, they're disciplinarians and they have that role. But you got to have someone guiding the ship. And even if it's not your parents, a relative, a friend, a pastor, a someone being your tour guide at that age is so vital. And I think it's so wow, that's a hell of a story because I viscerally feel the pain of that. I super feel that, and thank you so much for sharing that with people. Sorry.
My younger self thanks you for feeling that.
Yeah, no, and I will say this is something really important, and I say this a lot. Like, obviously, you and I have connected on a deeper level than just like peers in the same game, but there is something incredibly special about people who take the pain that they've been through. Whether you call it the archetype of the wounded healer or whatever you want to call it, but people who take those experiences and use them not just like as fuel to suddenly do some great thing, but really just as ways that build compassion within themselves and understanding. Because of that experience, someone somewhere, if not many someones somewhere, are going to benefit from the compassion that you put into the world and the understanding and the empathy that you have for people. So because you went through that and survived it, and are willing to share that, or at least share if you're not necessarily sharing that story all the time individually, to be able to share the understanding of that with people, particularly younger people, it's really it's really a gift that you are giving the world. So thank you for being one of those people.
I hope so.
And the chat is saying the same thing. Thank you, Jeannie, for your courage and sharing these stories. This is big, exam room brain does something beyond all expectations, all of that. So there is great love for you. Thank you for sharing.
So much. Thank you so much, everyone.
And for those of you who are sad that you have missed stuff, don't worry. We're going to have this available to you. This is not going to disappear into the nowhere. This is, and I'm hoping that I'm speaking correctly, Donnie, but I think we're going to be able to have all this whole thing and pop it on the interwebs. So don't you worry. Just stick around now. Cool. I can't hear you, Donnie, because you're muted, but I'm going to guess that you're saying something very important. There you are. Will we have? Yes. Okay. Phew. Thank you, Donnie, the voice from above. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. So, all right. Yes. Shout out to Donnie, the tech goddess, who is making all of this happen today. So that is a big thing to go through as a young person. And here you are today. Now we've come back to the journey you are on now.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, No, go ahead.
I was going to move on, but you were saying, tell me.
Oh, it's such a, when people say things happen for a reason, at the time you want to just say to them, yeah, all right, you have no idea. Really. Exactly. You want to say some expletives that I'm not going to repeat here, but yes, you do. You're just like, you don't get it. Now, many, many years later, I look back and I see how it's led me to where I am, to being the person that I am.
And for me, I find it's been more useful because I get annoyed when people are like, everything happens for a reason, or God has a plan, or whatever. Like, I'm like, okay, I am the creator of my destiny. So don't make me think that some master plan has got this all planned out. But what has been useful to me is really living in the knowledge that I will, in the future, look back and see how I made this be the right path. How that thing that happened, I am going to make this be the right path because I am on it. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine once said to me once, when I was having trouble making a major career decision and I finally made one and I was second guessing it, he said, well, how is this the right decision? Because you already made it. So tell me how it's the right decision. Because it is the right decision because you made it. So how is it the right decision? And that just definitive, like, that's the way you live, is such a great way to move forward in life. And it's a tough thing to do. It's a really tough thing to do, to just be like, I made a decision and therefore it's the right one. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's like one foot in front of the other. It felt right at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to follow it through and see where it takes me, Yeah.
Yeah. And you are clearly a survivor. You are clearly a seeker. You are clearly someone who wants to find things in the world. And that curiosity and that interest with the world, I think, has also probably fueled you greatly on your path.
So curious about, most importantly, so curious about people, how they live, what's going on, how are we alike, how are we different? Why is that? I am the person that asks 1,000 questions, and, pre-COVID, getting into an Uber or a Lyft or sharing a car or sitting in a restaurant.
Chatting with everyone and being like, tell me about you.
Yeah, it's just that, wherever I can connect.
I can't wait until conventions are live again and we can take you and you can have that experience, because that's my favorite thing about conventions, is talking to people. Just talking to people and hearing about their lives and what excites them and how can we get it? How can we make that happen for you? Exactly. It's such a beautiful thing to engage with people. And not segue, but I want to make sure we talk about this. Your seeking, combined with your understanding that writing is a passion of yours, is what helped you what helped you create Saving Face. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Saving Face came about. It's based on my experiences as a makeup artist, and it's based on my experiences having a certain way of thinking and doing. I'm going to go ahead and just say, for full disclosure, I am ADHD. I was recently diagnosed, and it has been the absolute gift and privilege having that information later on in life and being able to put my life into something that I understand now.
It must be such a relief.
It is such a relief. there are days when I still want to run away from myself, because now I know what it is that is knocking on my door constantly. But yeah,
someone else just said congratulations on your diagnosis. It's nice to have the context and tools. So, and thank you for sharing this too.
You're so welcome. I'm that's so nice. Booty farts, you too.
Yeah. That's Boots. Boots is one of our moderators as well, and Beam Toaster as well. So just so you know who's helping out behind. And I see Maisie has been doing a little bit of extra work. So thank you so much, Maisie.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's and it's very recent actually. And I think I also feel like being part of the Overwatch actors kind of led me to seek that diagnosis, because it's so true. It's so true, because of all of the community who had reached out to me with what they were going through, what they were feeling, things that they were identifying with, things that I was identifying, you know, that I could see in myself in what the community was sharing with me. Yes, it's very much a late diagnosis. It was just one of those things where I felt like I keep asking myself these questions. I keep looking back on my life. Why that path? Why that reflection? Why this risk taking? Why this impulsivity? Why thousands and thousands and thousands of really cool creative ideas and not being able to finish one of them? You know, and when you ask yourself that with all the notepads and
Dude, it's me. I guarantee you, I haven't been diagnosed, but I guarantee you I am. I almost don't need to go there. I'm like, no, it's like me doing a 23andMe. Like, y'all, I know I'm 100% South Asian. I'll do it, but I'm just going to prove to you that I am. Like, I 100% know that I would be diagnosed with the same thing.
When you feel it, you know, a self-diagnosis is a diagnosis. If you are feeling it, then the likelihood is that you have traits that are in alignment with it. And my family, there is so much neurodiversity in my family. I have two brothers who are autistic. Back in the day, it would have been called Asperger's. And I have a nephew who was diagnosed earlier this year as also ASD, autistic. You know, and they say it's genetic. So when I look at my mom and I think about our difficulties, I'm like,
and she probably had no idea how to deal with that, and there certainly weren't the resources either in that culture or in that generation to really be able to do that.
And also, she was just trying to
power through it,
make money, and support her 3 kids and keep a roof over them. You know, so yeah. So this and one thing I really want to say, because everybody's here because of Overwatch, right? When I was given the script of Echo, and when I was given her backstory, and when I realized that she was this entity that just soaked up information and just wanted to learn and do, I was like, the thing is, I'm like her, but she can follow through on it. And if I can be more like her and just try it and believe in myself.
Yes.
And I talked to Andrea about this, our wonderful director and casting from Blizzard and Overwatch. I talked to her about it, and she's always amazed, you know, by all of us actors. She'll say, you know, it's funny when you try to line up a character with an actor and you think that person, they've got the voice, it's brilliant, it's great. That actor is always bringing something that happens to be in alignment with this character that was created in air. And it's like the magic of Overwatch and the writer.
Such an amazing job with that. Like, she, more than anyone that I have ever worked with, she cares so much about it being the right person, and not the right person just because of the voice, but the right person because of something within them, that there's an indelible something. I mean, I was just talking about this on the interview that I was doing before this, that, you know, my audition for Symmetra was it was me on an iPhone after having been up all night the night before because of a gig in London and then about to get on a plane. Wow. So it was me at my most stripped down. There was no room for thinking about whether it was going to be good or not. It was just me. And what I didn't realize that I had in common with the character then was not just like, you know, there was this voice and there was this calmness to it, but it was this certainty that she was going to take whatever chaos she experienced in her life and she was going to turn it into something greater. She was going to take, I didn't know she was on the spectrum at the time, but she was going to take all of the things that she struggled with. She was going to take everything, every bad experience, quote unquote, that she had had in her life. And she was going to funnel it into, I will make the world a better place. And when all of the fullness of that was revealed to me as we were working on this game, I was like, she.
Tears.
I mean, she looks like, seriously, I mean, she looks way better in thigh highs than I do, but she's me combined with all my disapproving Indian aunties. She's like that, but that, like, I don't care. I don't care how bad it was. Right. That how bad it was is going to be my reason for making it better. It's not going to be my reason for breaking. People saying all this shit about me is not going to keep me from seeing what is right about me. I'm not going to let it. I could, but I'm not going to, because right. The world needs something and I need to be a part of that something. Yeah. So you with Echo, what a beautiful, beautiful discovery to have. What a beautiful, that must have been so freeing and inspiring.
It was freeing. It was inspiring. There were also moments of, really, I'm being led to the light by
a video game character
who yep. I'm seeing, and she's continually teaching me. One of the traits that I have, obviously ADHD presents itself differently in everybody, guys and girls, completely differently, you know. But one of the things that I wake up with every day is the thought, and it could start with a positive and it very, very quickly goes south, you know. Mm-hmm. It's a worry thing, right? And it can derail you because you hold on to it, and it will lead to another and another and another, because those thoughts, 500,000 thoughts a day coming into your head, they converge as soon as I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Please be quiet, please shush, yes. Right? You literally have to say one at a time.
Get in line, guys. Get in line.
We've got a full 24 hours. Let's just space it out here, right? Having that worry over something that hasn't happened, and then reading the line of, you know, you'll have to forgive me, everybody. I'm still fairly new with like remembering my lines because they're not in front of me, but nothing to worry about until it's something to worry about, right? Dr. Leal. Nothing to worry about unless there's something to worry about. I feel like that was written for me. Yeah. I really feel like, hold your horses, Jeannie. Can you do anything about that? Is that in the realm of you actively changing it, or being able to you know, get something positive out, or whatever it is, not getting something positive out of it, but just, can you stop worrying about it, because it's not within your power. The only power that you have is to manage you and how you feel about it, you know. Mm-hmm. And being able to answer that question and say, no, actually, I cannot change that thing that happened 15 years ago. I cannot change the thing that I'm worrying about 5 years ahead or 10 minutes ahead. It hasn't happened. What I can do for the future is prepare. But even then, things might change.
Yeah, and it hasn't happened yet.
And it hasn't happened yet.
There's this lovely saying, don't die before you're dead. And, right. And I say that to myself all the time, because I will do the same thing. Like, my ability to project pessimism into the future is pretty uncanny. People are always asking, how are you so positive? I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'm not. I am militantly fighting the negativity.
Yes.
And I am trying my best to not just fight it, because that tends to make it worse if I'm pushing it away, but to replace it with something else.
Right. It's acknowledging, right? It's like you're able to acknowledge that, all right, this is what I'm feeling, but is it of any use?
Yeah, yeah. And also understanding that your feelings come from your thoughts. So
Mhm.
what am I thinking that is causing this feeling? And is this thought accurate?
Right.
You know, like I realized when once I realized that my feelings are more like a barometer than they are reality,
Mhm.
that my feelings kind of tell me what's kind of going on. What's going on up here and what's going on out here that is causing me to feel that in any
Mm.
given moment. And more often than not, if I am feeling something rotten that really just nags at me, it's because of my brain. You know the difference, especially once you've experienced it. You know the difference between grief and sadness that comes from something that makes sense, like being grieving over the loss of a loved one or grieving over a relationship. Like that kind of makes sense. But when you are anticipating something
Mhm.
and causing yourself to feel these things, it's just exhausting.
It
It's
is.
it is exhausting. It takes so much energy. I call it the war inside my head. If you're
Yeah.
busy fighting the war inside your head, you do not have that much energy for the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
that is a really, really, really important. I still remember the first time in my adult life, probably in my whole life, that I clocked, oh my God, I'm not fighting the war inside my head. And it
Mhm.
was in 2017. That's how late it was. It was the first time I remember going, oh my God, it's not happening. It's not,
That
I'm
has
just present. I am just present in this moment, listening to this podcast as I drive.
How freeing is that?
It's so freeing, especially once you identify that that's what it is. Because a lot of times I think a lot of us don't know what it feels like. So we don't have a reference point for
Right.
something. You know, if you've lived your whole life experiencing something, if you've lived your whole life with chronic pain, if you've lived your whole life with a respiratory disease, if you've lived your whole life with something, it's very hard to imagine the thing that you want to experience. Just having the tiniest bit of relief or the tiniest experience, sometimes like to be able to say, oh, that's what I'm aiming for. I can feel my way into that.
Mm.
And it's such a gift.
Yeah, it really is. And to be able to practice that every day, and there are days when I lapse. There are days when I
Right.
will.
Well, but that's why it's practice. It's
Exactly.
not, it's just practice. It's part of doing your best. None of us are perfect at it. Anyone who thinks they're perfect at something is
Right.
a little, I wouldn't trust that person.
Yeah, and I actually think there's a lot of truth. There is so much truth to that because, um, again, with myself, and I can only speak about what I've learned about myself, is that perfectionism has literally halted so many of the experiences that
Yes.
in my life, because if it's not right, if it's not perfect, if it's not
Then
you,
you just don't do it.
then
And then
you
all of
don't
a sudden,
see it.
yeah. Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't.
yeah. It's my favorite I Am Fun Size episode, and I use this line all the time, came from Jen Cohn, and she said, do not let perfection be the enemy of good. And she
Yes.
got that piece of information from someone else. And it's just such a true thing. It's so easy to discount yourself. It's so easy to take yourself out of the running. I am
I
fun. I am fun size would not have happened if I had listened to that voice in me. It's this community that helped me realize, screw it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's perfect. I care that it's out there.
Yes, exactly. And I love it. Again, just going back to that gentle push, that gentle acknowledgement, the love from the Overwatch community that
Mhm.
that gives us, because we're human, that gives us that push to be even more in our authentic state so that we can,
Yeah.
so that, I don't want to be anybody else but me. I find it very hard to nowadays. I spent my entire life wearing the mask of looking like I can get through this life. I look like I've got it all together. I look like I can, and I am 100% there for my friends. I will show up. I will show up for my friends and my family.
Mm-hmm.
I will show up for work. When
Yeah.
there are things. Will I show up for myself over the last many years? No.
Well,
I
it's the easiest person to not show up for. And this is something too that again I've learned over time too. And obviously you have, and people do, everybody does this to an extent. Like, I was reading a personal training thing recently, and people they were talking about all the reasons that we give not to work out. because we are the easiest person to allow ourselves to let down, because we don't want to let anybody else down. We don't want to let down work. We don't want to let down our family. We don't want to let down our friends. And we will, like, you're like me. I'll fucking, pardon me. I'll, jump in front of a train for my family and friends. But if it means me being like, oh, this thing that I needed to do for myself, screw it. I don't need to do it.
Right.
I can handle it. Mm-hmm. I can handle it. Do you need it?
It's like,
do you really need to handle it, or will you be able to show up more for other people if you give yourself the things to fuel yourself? And luckily for both of us, we both have loving partners who are super supportive of us feeling that well.
Exactly.
So that we can be out there in the world that way.
And also being able to, the support is really important, but being able to claim it yourself. And that in itself takes, and I'm not one to be braggy or anything like that. I don't think I'm courageous, but what I do think is being able to stand up and find it within yourself to say the words that maybe you hadn't been able to say before, which is, that's not right for me, that I don't like what's happening here. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Up until like 1-2 years ago, I would still be in a position where I would want to say, I really want to say, please don't talk to me that way. You'll get better work out of me. And you and I had a conversation about this.
Yes, we did.
Where even in work as an actor, you want to be able to say, hey, this communication works really cool with me. This communication will make me shrink and I will not give you what you are looking for. You want the best out of me? Let's find a shorthand, that works for us.
And you want to be the person who's in that power all the time, but it takes a lot.
Yeah, because you worry that you're not going to get brought in again for work. Yeah. They won't hire.
Or that you're going to get fired. You never know what it's really, and it is a muscle. Yeah. It is a muscle you build too.
Exactly. And for me, there's a balance. I'm not going to come in and just be like, this is how I am, everybody.
No. I mean, you don't want to come in like, fists up, but just being aware of like, okay, that's not, and it's not even like, that's not right for me, or screw you can't talk to me that way. It's more like, what's going to get us all what we want here? Because if you are trying to give me direction, if you're trying to give me direction to arguably make this project good, then there are certain ways that it's just going to get worse. And I just know this about myself. If you shame me, if you ridicule me, it just happened. Just something popped up. Just happened recently when I was doing a play, and I had been doing a lot of television work, and I was the lead, and the director was giving notes to everybody backstage. And he prefaced something and he just went, well, this is just because you've been doing so much TV work now. You're such a big TV star now. You forgot how to project. And maybe it's because you've been doing so much TV work, And he was saying it like, you're such a big star. This is so great. And I'm like, that was insulting. And it was insulting to say in front of my castmates. You could have just said, I need you to project more on this line. And we all would have been able to move forward.
Right. But then you decided to single out my...
you decided to single out my success as a negative.
Exactly.
That's such an interesting choice. How does that? What an interesting choice for you to make, direct.
It is a lot of it is just how we communicate with each other, how we walk. I'm getting really deep here with how we walk through. On this planet. Are we doing it gently? Are we doing it mindfully? How do we still take up the space that is ours, whilst also not nudging or pointing out other people's things that are going on? I'm not going to call them shortfalls or anything. Just everybody's got something. Everyone is going through.
Everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't have time for that person, okay, then you don't have to say mean stuff, or you know what I mean?
I see this no more clearly than on the internet. Because I'll tell you, one of my greatest pet peeves about posting things on Instagram and other people or other places is when you will post something, or one will post something, or I will post something, and someone will immediately say, yeah, I don't like that character, or this isn't what I came here to see.
Right.
Or my favorite, unfollowing. I'm like, okay, you didn't need to tell me that. I don't like go. It's all
Go.
right. If you don't like this page, you do not need to be on it. That is your prerogative entirely. But there are people here who are here to hear this. There are people here today seeing this who are here to be talking about deeper things. And I'm excited for them. Nobody needs so that same thing in life is such a special thing.
Yes.
You know, not discounting other people or other people's experiences or other people's you know, I another pet peeve is when people are, you know, you're eating something and someone's like, oh my God, that's so gross. I'm like, well, you're not eating it.
Yeah. I had that.
Don't ruin my meal.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had that. Yeah.
In lunchbox, and all of a sudden I would have
the Chinese aroma of Chinese food, and people are like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, well, you're not eating it. Screw off.
Exactly. I remember at the time I never took it too personally because I thought, well, I love my mother's food and I love the food of my people, and I love foods in general, but clearly they're missing out, and I could see that. You can see it. So yeah.
I want to keep on going for hours, but we also have these questions that people have specifically written in with from the Discord, and I want to address them. And I'll address the specific Symmetra and specific Miriam questions, guys. Maybe I'll address them on a solo stream if you don't mind. First I want to ask the questions that are questions that both of us can answer. If you could voice any cartoon character, who would you pick and why? Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it would be for me. It's not an existing character, you know. I'm going to steal from Jen Cohn's book a little bit, and like, I'd love to be a utility player on South Park. Like a utility player on anything to me is the coolest thing because you get to do a ton of different voices. A utility player is just someone who does all the little voices, guys. It's not necessarily the lead. And I feel like that would be loads of fun because it would play well with the schizophrenia, not the schizophrenia. I don't want to use that term, but with the many voices that are going through my head, it plays well with the, like, I have so many different voices that I do on any given day, even in our house, that I would love to do that on a show. So that's a big thing. I also just want to play a dragon for some reason. I really want to play a dragon. I can't explain why. I just want to play a dragon. How about you?
What shows do I love watching? So I love Adventure Time, and I love Marceline, and I feel like I would love to do. I would love to create a princess character that I could voice, and also LSP. She is, I love how non-princessy she is.
Yes, non-princessy princesses are really kind of amazing.
Exactly. And then
I'm gonna also take a page out of your book there. I would love to do any kind of singing animated role. And usually those are princesses. So I'll take a princess, but I just want to do like a singing animated role because I love singing and it's so freeing. And I love that particularly in animated films, the singing is so similar to the speaking. You know, there's no like suddenly you've got this singing voice that doesn't match the person. Like I love that it's an extension of their expression in animated movies.
Exactly. I also want to say Maya Rudolph, her character in a show, I don't know if everybody's watched this because it's a bit of a racy cartoon, but Big Mouth, Nick Kroll's show. I love Maya Rudolph's Connie the Hormone Monster.
Oh my God, I need to see this.
Just be prepared. That show is bonkers.
You've met me, not a problem.
It is. It's a
real Anjali is so much like Rampart, you guys. I got no filter. No filter. So yeah, and especially if I'm watching with Rick, that's the kind of, you know, like we're South Park lovers. So that's the kind of show that we're gonna want to watch. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. How do you remember all your lines when acting? I'm guessing that TV and movies are filmed in such a way that you don't have to remember too much, but a stage play is a lot. So yeah, that's a good question. How have you historically learned your lines?
I really have to assign an emotional reason for everything. I'm not one of those actors who has a photographic memory. For me, it only comes to life once I have really assigned my relationship, you know, what my emotional reason for being in a space is. The stakes always help me look into remembering those lines. Monologues are always quite difficult for me. However, same thing, you know, it's like, what is that emotional journey that I'm going on? And you know, obviously for a monologue, with everything, there's an arc to it, right? There's like there's a structure to it. So as long as I'm able to really, really tap into my why, you know, what I want, what I need, where I've come from, where I think I'm going, and the relationship between the person, if I'm acting opposite someone, then that all helps. But for me, talking about it, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in order to memorize it. I'm not like magic memory person, you know.
Yeah. For me, especially like in a play and stuff like that, it's a little bit different. I do have a little bit of a photographic memory, which is helpful because I play a lot of doctors and a lot of characters that just kind of spout information and exposition. But for me, it is similarly, I need to know what the thought process is. What thought got me to this line, got me to this line, got me to this line. And that helps with the emotional journey because as I said before, for me, I realize that thoughts cause emotions. You know, I thought, I think you're betraying me, or I think you just meant this when you said that, and that's why I feel crappy about it, or all of those things. With a play, it also, to me, is very much about like, am I actually listening to what the other person said? What's it making me think? And then how am I getting to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing? And same with scenes on TV. It does take a lot of work. And a lot of times, and this is something that people don't realize, a lot of times for actors, and I think this is probably true for you too, when we are working, it looks like we're just sitting somewhere thinking. Sometimes it looks like we're not doing anything because all of the work that we're doing is going on up here and in here. I remember explaining this to my beloved once, that I was like, I'm going to be in another room. It's going to look like I'm doing nothing, but I'm doing the most important work that I can do. And I need it to be quiet for me to be able to do it, because if I can't do this in silence, all the notifications in my own head are going to get in the way.
Right.
And everything on the outside, and the noise and the this and the that. Like I just don't have the level of focus to do the hard work that I need to do if there's a bunch of stuff coming in from outside. So yeah, thought process. And then I can't overestimate the use of flashcards and recordings, because sometimes I just don't have time. And I will get an audition, and then I will have to drive to said audition, and that is the amount of time I have to prepare. So I will record a scene, I will record all of the lines, and then I will record just the other person's lines, and leave space for myself to do those lines. And I'll do that, while I'm doing my hair, I'll do that while I'm driving, I'll do that wherever. And that definitely helps. In an ideal world, I'm doing that with another human being, but sometimes you just don't have the opportunity.
Exactly. I think my voice memo is just chock full of me.
It's all scenes from auditions.
Yeah, exactly. I pulled my phone down because I was like, I want to show you this. It's literally me having a conversation with me again.
Yep.
You're in the car, and yeah, I've got my headphones.
That's exactly what I do.
Totally.
Exactly what I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that AirPods and headphones are a thing now, because it used to be that people would just think that I was talking to myself on the street and a crazy person, but now I can just put in the earphones and people think that I'm talking to someone on the phone.
Exactly. It's so good.
Which is a very good thing. How much and in what ways do you think the acting entertainment industry, were you going to play that for us?
No, go for it.
Okay. How much and in what ways, this is from Maisie, how much and in what ways do you think the acting entertainment industry has changed over the years? Oh, so many. So many ways. I mean, one of the most obvious ways, I think, is that stories from all over the world are being told more often, and not stereotypical stories.
Yeah.
And there is a wider diversity of human beings and backgrounds, and people who look different, and people who have different, there are stories, there are characters that are being written with different orientations, different genders, so much more, so many more stories are being told that reflect the world we see not just the world we used to see on TV.
Yeah.
That is a big shift. And we're continuing to move further and further in that direction, which I really appreciate. That's one thing.
Where because of streaming, I think we're seeing a lot more stories that are not as formulaic or structured in what we are used to. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for stories from
the limited series too. Like there are new because of streaming, there are new formats that enable us to tell those stories better. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. No. Exactly. You know, I feel like we are being given the whole gamut of different stories and making space for them, because I think not that long ago, we were, from a writer's perspective, you know, it's like you have to write a certain way. This is what's expected. You know, you've got a 3-arc process. You've got the structure. Blah 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 blah. You know, and also coming from a pretty non-linear brain, you know, it's like, but there are other stories. I've seen them. I've seen, you know, there are brilliant shows out there, and a lot of European shows that are popping up on Netflix that have this really slow churning, different storytelling, but it's one that we can still get down with, you know. So I'm just loving the different formats and the different ways of telling stories, because they're all still stories, and I love it. It's like the boundaries got broken with streaming in particular.
It's so interesting that you said that, because I remember lamenting that, you know, that our continued the world's continued pace was starting to mess with our ability to focus on one story for a long time. But then you look at like the success of a show like The Crown or Downton Abbey, or things that do take their time to tell a story in a long way. And it gives me hope that people are actually, yes, we're all devouring content at an alarming rate, and we all want everything so fast. But because there is so much diverse storytelling, not just diversity in the actors, but there are so many different formats of storytelling happening. There is now room for the really long character development and long story development, and things that take their time. No one's expecting everything to be a half-hour procedural. Give it to me in small shots. We are being reintroduced to our own ability to focus, because the stories are engaging.
I love that. I really do. Yeah.
I also think, and I've said this before, I do think that gaming in many ways is the future of storytelling, because one thing I love so much about gaming, or is one of the futures of storytelling, one of the things I love so much about gaming, and I loved it when I was a gamer, and I love it as a person who performs in games, is that with games, the person playing gets to be in the story. You have agency. You are the hero. You are the protagonist. You are making decisions. And when that happens, there is much more of a connection, I think, to a story. Like I constantly think how grateful I am to gamers for, like, they invite us into their homes essentially, and are living with these voices. They're hearing Echo, they're hearing Symmetra, they're hearing all of these characters, you know. And when you have a beautiful story game like The Last of Us, or you know, when you have these things where these people have become a part of your life like that, they get indelibly etched inside your being in a way that watching something you can't always do when there's an audience and a performer. And I'm really grateful that we have that opportunity, and that now we have the opportunity to talk to the community and to talk to people so easily after they have taken it in. Because we get to hear how Echo has affected people's lives and how Symmetra has affected people's lives. And speaking of which, I think we should probably do some voice lines for people, because we have a list of people who've wanted voice lines. So real quickly, let's see what I've got that I haven't done yet. If I can think it, I can create it. Well, that is very... That is one that's very, very good for the stream that we've done today. And then Rampat, Mozambique here, mates. There's that one too. Kairaya, I miss the characters of We're Alive Frontier on a regular basis too, because that's another thing that, Jeannie, that someday I'm hoping that you will get involved in as well. There is I don't know if you play role-playing games or D&D. I can't remember if we've had this conversation before.
I did many years ago. I think I did it when I was in high school, but since then, not really.
So it is one of my favorite experiences as a performer to be doing these shows now where they're combining, like Critical Role, like some of these other shows that I've done, where people are combining role-playing games with essentially streaming and performing. And what's so fantastic about that is that you're essentially doing long-form improv with characters you create.
Oh, I love.
And instead of getting direct, instructions from the audience about where you are, whatever, you're getting it from a game master. And I'm telling you, doing Undeadwood and doing Real Life Frontier, those two shows was probably arguably my most fulfilling acting experience in recent memory, because you're with people who are as invested and as engaged in telling this story as you are. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And someday, once I get my crap together to start doing one shots and stuff like that, I'm definitely inviting you, because I think you would love it. It's so freeing, and it's so, especially as a sensitive human who feels things so much in the moment, and who has such a great connection to your emotional vessel and to your emotional instrument. I think you would really enjoy it.
It looked a lot of fun. I've seen your posts, and also Erica.
Yes, because we've done a bunch together, and it's so fun. And again, it's a game. So, you don't have to take it too seriously, but I take my fun very seriously too. And anyone who has watched Undeadwood understands how seriously I take it, because how seriously all the people in that room took it, because it was a very emotional journey. And it's just, it's cathartic. It's just wonderful. And sometimes it's silly, and sometimes it's whatever. It depends on who you're playing with, but it would be, I think you would enjoy it. And I think you'd enjoy it just playing a one shot at the house or whatever, because you don't always have to do it in public. You can always just play the game. That's another thing. What are some of your favorite Echo voice lines? But you had the one that you mentioned, although you said that in your voice. If you have it in Echo's voice?
If I said it in Echo's voice, I've actually pulled them up, guys. Please.
Oh, good. Look at you, smarty.
For me to pull them up. I do love the hold on a second. I do love that line of
there's nothing to worry about. Yeah,
because my brain is spacing, and that's exactly what it.
No, that is okay, because also you guys have to understand that when we do these voice lines when we record them, we get them the day of, and we read through them really, really fast. We go through each one of them. We give 3 takes of it, and then we move on to the next, and we move on to the next, and we move. So unless we're playing the game, which neither of us do with regularly, we don't know what lines have actually made it into the game, or we might not remember what lines we recorded because we did them and they disappear. We don't memorize them. We don't get them ahead of time, because people are smart and they don't want it to leak. So a lot of it
home with us either.
Yeah, they don't let us take them home with us. They don't. No. The only time I have ever gotten a script in advance for Overwatch was when I needed to practice the Hindi. So that was like, that was fair, because, I didn't want to offend an entire country, subcontinent. It was rather important that I got those right.
Right.
So there's that. I'm trying to see if I'm, it's also amazing. Yes, it is amazing what the community around these create, the animations, the animatics, and the drawings alone. It's Talon. We've been talking about how inspired. Do you prefer to go by Talon or Poppy? Let me know. Because sometimes I'm not going to write Talon Poppy all the way out. But thank you for being such an active member of this Twitch, by the way. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm trying to think. Some of my favorite, still to this day, I think my favorite Symmetra voice line, generally speaking, is "Welcome to my reality," because it's her being like, "Well, you're in my world now," but also she creates her own reality. Like, I could not be asked for a better character than someone who has actually decided, no, I am going to create my own reality no matter what. This is the reality that I will live in, and you shall come into it. Just like Anjali has decided, this is the reality y'all are going to work in. And if you're going to bring in all of these negative things or all of these other things, I'm just not going to pay attention to them. I'm going to let it die because we haven't fed it. That's the best way to do it, is not push it away, but just be like, I got eyes on the prize, eyes on a better world, eyes on places where we have compassion, eyes on places where we do get characters like Echo who teach us things about ourselves. That's amazing. It's such a beautiful thing. Boots has a question. Was that you saying Alamak and Gialat? I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right.
Yeah.
Was that you? Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I know there are a lot of questions about that. It's like, wait, didn't she say it differently to begin with? And then didn't they change it halfway through? And then am I still the voice of those particular lines? And the answer is yes, I am. It's kind of that thing that you were talking about, wanting to get the Hindi right for Symetra's lines.
Yeah.
And so when we went in to record the lines at the time, we had an example of it and we recorded it. And later on, the feedback that we got was that because Dr. Liao is from Singapore and therefore created a robot that would have these, these phrases as well. We personally, when I read a lot of the feedback, I was like, oh, well, I wish that I had the opportunity to record that again, because I get it. Yeah. I speak a little bit of Cantonese, and Cantonese is definitely one of the languages that's spoken in Singapore. So she can speak the way that she does because being AI,
it's just the future and AI and all of that stuff.
Exactly. But with those particular words, they are Singapore. They're basically Singaporean, Indonesian, Malaysian slang. Okay, they're all going to claim it as their own, and that's totally right. Languages can cross borders. So we re-recorded it, and it was just this wonderful serendipitous.
Oh, I'm so glad. Did you ask to do that, or did they decide?
No, I guess we were just, it was within our zeitgeist, right? We were realizing, I was thinking I would love an opportunity to do this better, right? I mean, maybe PhD brain where it's like, oh, I do better. It was not perfect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just, I wanted to honor.
Yeah, of course.
And I got an email from Overwatch, and they were like, we're going to go and do this again. We're going to go honor. So I loved it. I love the fact that we were able to recognize, let's really honor this language and these phrases. And so they do sound a lot different, because obviously Echo in general is very upbeat in the way that she speaks. She's excited to try new things. But there's a specific way in which those phrases are spoken. So they are spoken more in the way that you would if you were in Singapore or, in Southeast Asia.
Boots says he has a friend in Singapore that is so happy about those lines.
Oh, that's brilliant. And that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does mean so much to us, and I'm happy to have more proof to share with the world that it means so much to Blizzard. Because they are trying, and I know the Apex Legends gang is doing the exact same thing. They want so much to do right by all the cultures that are represented. At the same time, they also are aware that like these are fantasy games set in a future, in a universe, or with Apex on a completely different planet, like all these things. So there is room for a little bit of leeway, but everybody's trying very much to do right by the people that are being represented, or by the cultures that are being represented. And so even now I look back at Symetra's Hindi lines and I'm like, I have a little bit of an American accent when I say my Hindi lines. Like I could do better now. I could do better. And it's not that big a thing, but it's like a little part of me that just goes niggling part. But I started learning Hindi, so hopefully now I can do better.
That's amazing. And I think there's something really special in being able to say, and again, this is very much in the zeitgeist, and hopefully it's not just a fad, of being able to raise your hand and say, you know what I did back then, whether it's
can I redo? Yeah,
whether it's a personal thing or whether it's a work related thing. It's like, I'd like to write this. If that's okay, I would really like to write it.
I mean, just being able to ask, like people might say no, but you got to ask. Maisie, focus on the object. Maisie, is that actually a line in the game? Is that a line I say, or is that a line Echo says? I'm going to say it in Symmetra's voice, and then you can say it in Echo's voice. It's focus on the objective, minimize errors, adapt to changing battlefield conditions, and good luck. That sounds like you.
That's me.
That's got to be you.
I'm not gonna.
But apparently, Symmetra could say the same thing with her voice. Who knows?
Definitely say it. Some good.
Let me hear it with you. Let me hear it with Echo.
Do I find this in the chat, or do I?
It's in the chat. It's pretty recent. It's Maisie Grove, and it's been highlighted, so you should be able to see it pretty well.
Maisie.
And it's down at the bottom, like it's pretty close to the bottom.
Wait, let me see. Echoes. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down.
And she redeemed a highlight my message so that you could see it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Sorry about this, everyone.
Okay. No. That's why we're here, guys. We got to take our time. Scroll up from there. She anchored right there at the bottom for you.
Okay, got it. So she says, focus on the objective, minimize errors, adapt to changing battlefield conditions, and good luck.
Oh, she's so sweet. She's so positive and sweet.
Quite happy and sweet.
Symmetra would be so just like, do this and good luck.
No.
Just do this. Just do it. Do it because I said so.
Do it.
Jeannie, what was your reaction to being cast as Echo? Someone is asking. Did you know that it was Overwatch? Okay. That's another thing that people don't always know. We don't know what we're anything because they give us code names. So we don't know anything when we go into these things.
All I knew was it was Blizzard. So it could have been any number of games. But
they were all going to be dope.
They're all going to be dope. Yeah. And when it was revealed, when they offered me the role, I got the email and it said you will be the 32nd hero for Overwatch. And I was like, Josh, look, I just got a job. Josh, I got a job.
He freaked out.
Right. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Look, I was happy that I booked a job. First and foremost, very happy. Then my husband goes onto the computer and he's like, yeah, this is a pretty big deal, babe. Yeah, this is hold on a second. Okay, all right. And then we're looking through like convention stuff with all of you guys on it. And he was like, wow, apparently all the actors do conventions. Oh, wow, there's a lot of followers. And I was like, this is so much fun.
You don't know. This is one of the great things though about not knowing what you're auditioning for is that if I had known ahead of time, I would have put so much pressure on myself. I wouldn't have done that 2 lines I wouldn't have not have done it well. I would not have done well. I sometimes knowing less is better. Pause. Congratulations, Sean, Mr. Wick, on passing your final test.
Congratulations, Sean.
You were meant for greatness. That is excellent. I'm very excited for you. Hard work and dedication pays off. Break every mold. Yeah, we're done with the Discord questions, sweetie. We went through all of them. The Beam Toaster Finn. I'm going to answer some of your personal, specific Anjali questions another time because I want to keep Jeannie here. This is a good question that actually though we can both answer because I'm going to make it tailor-made. What did you get to see of your character before you did the voice lines?
I got to see the Route 66
you got to see the short. Oh, great.
Short. And I got to see the Overwatch 2 animation with
right.
bringing in everybody.
So you did know what she looked like is basically like
I did know what she looked like. I thought sometimes I feel like I'm a robot. I don't know if it's like I'm a robot, but sometimes I feel like I was just born and I'm not. I've been here for decades. But I feel like every day, as much as I have my challenges with my ADHD, I also feel like today is a brand new day. And it's like I've just been birthed out of an egg at times. and so when I saw Echo, I was like, I really feel so like that brand newness of teach me, what can I learn? And that she was created for good. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty, I mean, look, I like playing baddies as well. I love playing villains. They're so much fun. Yeah. But there's something about just you know, just the whole backstory of her being created for good. So seeing that, I had tears in my eyes. I sat in the room. Andrea was like, you just got to watch this. It's just like, oh, she's just an amazing character. You know how Andrea is. She's
so feeling, and she's so
true. Exactly. Yeah. I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, whoa, God. You know, it was lovely. And I think once I got into the booth and started recording and started seeing and reading more and more information about Echo, more and more information about Overwatch, and just the level of work that that Blizzard puts into it, it's like, yeah, it's something to be, I'm so honored. And I'm not just saying it to be all lovey, you know, but I am.
No, but it's true. I feel the same way. Like, it's really amazed to be entrusted with something.
Yeah. I'm literally like, who, me?
Yeah. Are you? Oh, yeah. No, 100%. I'm like, really? You sure? You sure? Okay. Someone had a question that I had not actually seen or clocked in the Discord, and I want to Break Every Mold had a question. He said, my question was about when Jeannie attended Lucy's comedy show. Did you do Lucy's comedy show in New York?
No.
I know you went to see it.
I went to see it.
Okay.
I had her name somewhere at the back of my mind from doing the research on Overwatch, but my friend had invited me to a one-woman show. And she was, do you want to go see this? You know, it'll be fun. We'll just, I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Got there, and it was Lucy's show. And a lot of the other actors were there. I think Caro was there, Chloe, Johnny, Faye.
Oh, right. This was the night I was performing that night and I couldn't be there. I remember all of this.
It was at the Lyric Theatre. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I think these are all the people that also voice characters. And there's me with my hot chocolate. Right? I'm just standing in the corner of the foyer.
So did you say hi, but did you feel like you couldn't say hi?
No, because I'm shy. Because I'm so shy. I'm just like, they don't know me. I could just be making it up. I could literally be making it up, saying, hey, guess what? 032.
That is hilarious that you could possibly think that. Although I have to admit, I'm so, you know, everyone who knows me knows that I live in fear of getting in trouble. Like, that's my Achilles heel. Even when I'm done nothing wrong, I assume that I've done something wrong. But NDAs, which for those who do not know, is a non-disclosure agreement, which means you don't talk about the project you're doing in any way, shape, or form. NDAs are terrifying to me. I am currently shooting something. My husband doesn't even know what I'm shooting. That's how scared I am of it. I'm like, I'm not telling anyone. No one gets to know. No one gets to know unless they're on set with me. That is the way it works. I'm going to ask this last question because we've been going for 2 hours.
Yes, thank you for staying with us, everyone.
Oh my God, thank you but also I want you to be able to get to what you need to do, and I gotta run off to something else. But someone asked, this is just like a super random thing to end on. Where is it? Jeannie, which cuisine do you prefer? Chinese food, Vietnamese food, or French food? And do you have a favorite dish of those cuisines?
Okay. Well, my dad was a chef, so it's to me, it's not a random question. Food to me is
excellent.
It unites us all. We all need it. You know, it's like air.
We do.
Yeah. I love all of them. And I know that's such a lame answer. With Chinese food, I'm such a dumpling girl. I love my dumplings. I love my noodles. I'm such a spicy noodle girl. For Vietnamese food, my favorite dish is bun riu. I only make it with a fish stock with crab.
What is that? Tell me what that is.
So it's a sort of a clear tomato based soup, and then it has basically crab meat that's made into crab meatballs, no meat but crab meat, and you dip it into egg to kind of give it that cohesiveness, and then you just drop it in like a dumpling into broth, and it's spicy and it's yummy and it's aromatic, and it is my soul food.
It sounds so good.
Yes. As for French,
sounds very healthy.
It's really good. It's very cleansing and spicy. I just love spice. I love
something that I can eat on my current dietary regimen. So thank you for informing me of that.
We'll talk about that. And then really quickly for French food, I think it's mostly baked goods. I don't eat meat anymore, so, and a lot of those dishes, you know, and it used to be a lot of meat. But I love ratatouille. Right? Ratatouille is French.
Oh, yes, it sure is. Also, that movie is one of my favorite movies.
And that movie is fantastic, too.
Okay, I was just talking about that movie recently because I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a moment at the end of that movie where someone has a transcendent experience because they have a bite of food. Yes, and I recently had that very same experience. And it's so crazy. I ended up... I don't eat this normally, but for some reason I was like, I'm going to go off the rails. And I ordered these 2 chocolate chip cookies at the hotel that I was staying at for work. And they're fresh baked and whatever. And I bit into it and I was transported back to college. When I was in college, at this point in college, I was dancing. I was working out in the morning, doing all of my classes, taking 3 hours of dance classes, and then 3 hours of dance rehearsal at night. Oh, wow. So I was just like working my balls off. And I would go back to my apartment at night. I would order Dan's Cookies, which was this delivery place. It's like Insomnia Cookies now. They would deliver cookies all the way up until 4 a.m. They would deliver fresh baked cookies to your house. And I would proceed to eat either 7 or 11 of them because I worked hard. I would proceed to eat that while I played RPGs on my computer, while I played Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms RPGs on my computer. And I was transported back to that and that level of relief and feeling of accomplishment. And I've earned this, and I get to have this thing, and I get to play this game, and it feels so good. And I was like, I'm going to end up ordering these chocolate chip cookies every night and gaining 20 pounds because it just feels so emotionally good. It was so special. It was something else.
It really transports you. It's like it's anything that touches the senses, but you know, fragrances or food and it really does.
Especially, I could honestly, like, when I look back on my life, mostly when I was doing theater, much more when I was doing theater, I can clock what time, like I can clock the dates or when something happened by 2 things: what show I was doing at the time and what foods I was eating at the time. Oh, yeah. Like if someone's like summer of junior year, between junior and senior year of college, I'm like, oh yeah, that was my popcorn and Ben and Jerry's sorbet phase.
No way.
Or like when you were doing XYZ, when you were doing Metamorphoses on Broadway, that's when I was playing Heroes of Might and Magic on my computer, and I was eating a lot of veggie booty and pirate booty. Like I can just, certain things just stick with me in terms of foods and times and how those connect to a positive experience. And because, you know, we could go on for an entire other episode about people's relationship with food, but I've had a sketchy relationship with food most of my life. And so to be able to relish it like that and connect it to positive emotions is such a beautiful and healthy feeling. And I love it so much.
Yeah.
You guys, how freaking awesome is Jeannie Bolet? Oh. Not Boulé, Bolet. She doesn't rhyme with Robert Goulet. It's Bolet. Bolet, actually. How freaking awesome is she? Follow her on all of the things. Where can people find you?
I'm at Jeannie Bolet on Instagram.
That's easy. Pretty much everywhere. And on the Twitter.
I don't Twitter much, guys and girls and everyone. I just don't. My brain capacity will explode.
It's a lot.
If I do. So please forgive me if I'm not on there. But yeah, mostly Instagram.
Gotcha.
Yes,
And hopefully at some point or another, you will grace us with your presence again here, because I feel like we could talk about so much. Everybody's saying, wow, this was 2 hours. Where did the time go? Please bring her back on the stream soon. Thank you for sharing your story. She's so amazing. Echo is my new main in Overwatch. She's just absolutely one of the finest human beings that I have met in recent years. And I'm so great. I'm going to start crying. I'm so grateful to know you. Especially during this crazy pants time that we are in the world, to continue to find such beautiful humans is just, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm going to say the same thing that I like to say to everyone. You guys, I know the world is challenging right now. And I know that a lot of people are fighting a bigger challenge within themselves that they may have been fighting before the world got crazy. So please remember, no matter how low you get or how lonely you get, you are not alone, even if you are isolated. And God forbid anything happened to you, you would be missed if you were gone. So please take good care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most of all, be kind to yourselves and to each other. Because as we said earlier on the stream, everyone is fighting a war that other people don't know anything about. So be kind to each other. Oh, and I love you guys. And we will be doing more I Am Fun Size live soon. So stay tuned. Jeannie, I love you. We're gonna say goodbye. Oh, wait, let's see. Oh, who should we raid, you guys? Who should we get to raid another channel now?
Oh, wait.
There's no one on. There's no one on that I know. Okay, that's okay. Another time we will raid. But for now, we will just chill and say goodbye to you all. So thank you guys. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll pop this up on the internet for those of you who missed parts of it. And have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Take care.